Good day to you.
Good day. Is this Ethium?
Yes,
Thank you for coming down and speaking with us.
I'm not down.
I know. How are you?
Perfect.
Excellent. Ethium, yes,
We
go ahead.
are aware that the channel has been making some adjustments to his energetic field and clearing out the essence of previous experiences that have been inhibiting his ability to have a full open connection with us and other beings that would wish to choose to come through him, and giving him the chance to readjust to his energetic state in a more open, free way to facilitate the connection and information to flow through him at this time.
Very good. He told me that too.
Yes.
Ethium, how do you assess the vibe on Earth right now?
How do we divide?
How do you assess the vibe? How do you feel the frequency, the general energy? Currently?
You are going through a state of turbulence right now as you are going through the window of contact, shifting window of contact, because you are starting to come through and connect to the idea of higher vibrational frequencies as you shift up. Ultimately, you are going through the idea of turbulence and releasing the idea of war and discord that goes along with being in a lower vibration. Because of the process that you are at this time going through, you do not have the idea of a completely smooth ride yet, but ultimately you will, you and your civilization and people and whole world will more shift out and relax as time moves on. That is how we read the energy currently.
Thank you. I really feel that the new war, Israel-Gaza there, has really touched a lot of hearts in various ways, but it seemed that people react to it a lot more than they react to any other violent conflict on the planet. What makes that place so unique and touching so many hearts?
That particular area, the energy of Orion, the energy of wars that came along with the downfall of Atlantis and many other cultures around the world, that area has been the source of many conflicts for thousands of years. So you are seeing many of those generations, many of that generational memory return and appear to you and your people, because you are all essentially one. That particular conflict itself is there to help you work through that generational trauma, that generational experience in a way that you could not had it been just the Ukraine war. You are there to work through the ideas, the energy that has been there for many generations. There are people that are connected to the idea of your Slavic regions, but that area in particular, because it is so charged and has seen so many wars for thousands of years, you need to work through the idea of war, the idea of suppression, the idea of negativity. That is why it is happening in the particular way that it is currently.
Thank you. There was a little bit of disturbance in the communications there. What was it you said about Slavic?
Yes, the idea of the suppression that happened in the regions that you determined to be Ukraine or Russia or Belarus, or many of those locations that were centered around World War II. Those energies are rising via the current conflict in that region. They are being worked through with the idea of that particular engagement.
And probably kind of similar in the Israel-Gaza, working through similar ideas with two different tribes.
Well, in that instance, that is a more intense, more long-lasting conflict. That is why it is burning so bright right now, in that particular location. Think about it this way. Because those conflicts are happening in those places, they are not happening to the larger world that you live in. They are happening in very just specific places. You will not go through the idea of nuclear war, but you will go through a very short period of very intense energy.
How do you see these conflicts resolve or evolve?
Well, ultimately, they will evolve. Ultimately, the idea is that these types of fire energy, these types of conflicts, are that which can only last for a short period of time because the energy around Israel, as you know, is much hotter than the idea of what occurs in the Ukraine theater is much colder. So because you have the dichotomy, the longer conflict that is happening in Ukraine and the shorter conflict that is happening in Israel, you have both of them happening simultaneously together. So they are showing the dichotomy of both conflicts, the fact that these generational traumas, these generational experiences need to be resolved for you to move forward.
Yes, I see that. You know, it's interesting you mentioned the generational trauma because the people that are fighting now are the sons and grandchildren of the people that fought it first in the 40s, 30s and 40s.
Well, this is the idea.
Yeah.
The idea of generational memory that is passed down through your genetic lineages is there for you to actually do. Because as you move up into higher frequencies, higher vibrations, you can not carry those things with you.
Yeah, and it's quite unfathomable from here, from Canada, uh, to look at any conflict and say, why would the hell they want to do that? And maybe I'm in the minority right now, but I do feel that once the Israel-Gaza conflict specifically would resolve, the Ukraine, if it hasn't been resolved by then, would resolve, as well as maybe all or almost all of other conflict existing at the moment.
You are going to see some intensifying over the next few of your months, but ultimately these conflicts will be more short-lived. This is the end of this particular energy, this particular way of doing things. But you, as a culture, as a people, energetically, need to work through these ideas, these generational feelings, the generational pain. It's there for you as a people to actually do. It's your choice.
What could someone or myself say to anyone that lost dear ones, regardless of which side of the fence they are, in this or any other violent conflict? How do you explain it?
Many of those souls that enter into the idea of conflict know ultimately this is the way they will leave. What do those experiences, what do those people go through? What do you as a culture go through having those experiences and those examples show up in your life? What is being caused to have asked, had you not had these particular conflicts arise? This is the idea. You cannot deal with things if they are not in front of you. If they remain hidden, they will always be in the background and always have the question. You can look at even in your personal life, when many things are hidden, there's always this question of what if.
I see. Okay. So this is a chosen experience or lesson of sorts that they came to partake in.
Ultimately, yes.
Uh-huh.
It's not necessarily negative from the higher point of view. Ultimately, you as a culture will work it out. It's just you need to go through the idea of these experiences. They're your wars. We can't do it for you.
Right. And then we'll get to the point where so many people realize that these wars are ridiculous and they say, okay, well, it'll just stop.
Well, you are coming to that conclusion already. You are seeing it in your media, in your collective. A majority of the people around your world that have bought into the idea of war needing to be a thing ultimately will let go of these ideas.
Right.
Because you do not shift into the idea of higher densities, higher frequencies, and still maintain the idea of war.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Last question I want to bring about this topic. I saw somewhere, I don't remember where, but somebody was saying or writing somewhere that some of these souls, some of these people that are fighting now on the Israel side, there are souls from the Maccabees. There are also Jewish fighters 2,000 years ago. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes. You will see a lot of these kind of conflicts recycle the same sort of souls who need to work out the idea, a particular idea, a soul that has been experiencing a particular idea of war for many different lifetimes. In order for them to decide that they no longer need to go through that last experience or need to continue on with the particular lesson that comes along with war, they will go through one last final experience to be like, I do not want to experience this anymore.
So they may come and experience a few wars to kind of get it out of them?
Yes.
I see.
It's much like the idea of suicide. You, as a culture, as a people, have the idea of suicide, of someone removing themselves from a situation, from a place, from a time, because they are in such pain. The idea of suicide itself, soul, from a higher perspective, may carry over into other lifetimes where you have the energy of suicide in your field, where it is an idea that because you did take your own life, you don't have the ability to not think about it, but you must resolve the conflict, the inner turmoil, so you do not repeat the mistake. It's the same thing.
I see. Thank you. So it's possible, just as someone who came in and participated in a few wars through various life cycles would also experience a few suicides, or at least will have to face suicide after maybe in the previous lifetime they committed the suicide?
No, that was merely an example of something that can stick around from one incarnation to another.
Okay.
Can be inside of your energetic field. So if you are a warrior, you have been a warrior for many lifetimes, you will seek out those kinds of conflict until you resolve that aspect of your energetic field to say, I've had enough of these particular experiences. They will continue.
Thank you. How would one come to realize the lesson for which they incarnated in the present time?